Super Bowl champions.
Swinging a man, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup. For the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Yo, what's going on, gentlemen?
Welcome in. Episode 96.
96. Wow. Jesus Christ.
96.
We've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, a little bit.
It feels good. Philly, what's up? Drunk on Broad. Me, Joe, Don, and our friend Mustachio Dave over there. Dave, the Titans fan, joins us live from Tennessee.
Thank you.
With an hour time zone difference, which is fucking stupid.
If y'all did this an hour later, I would have been like,
You can't do it, guys. And trust me, if it was an hour later, we wouldn't be doing it either. Trust me. We would all be asleep. Dave, welcome to the show. If you don't know us or your cousin who you haven't seen in 6 long years.
Right, the long-awaited reunion.
Welcome to the Philly podcast where 0 fucks are given, sports is talked about, and anything goes. So your mustache is not off limits for tonight. I'm just letting you know. The nice-looking mustache, but we must bust your balls about A.J. Brown.
Look at, I told Joe earlier, nobody can hate the Titans better than me, so bring it on.
Let's just dive right in. How did you feel on draft day? What was going through your mind when that was announced?
All right, so I don't want to sound too dramatic, but you guys are sports fans. You get it.
We get it.
I literally remember where I was when I got the news. I was watching the draft. I was getting ready to go to sleep. It was like I was like, there's no big surprises coming tonight. I'm hitting the hay, and I get a text from a friend, and it just said, "We just traded A.J. Brown," and my jaw hit the fucking. I was like hyperventilating. I was like, no, I couldn't even fucking compute that was on the menu. And then checked a couple sources, and I cannot believe it.
And then it wasn't on our radar either.
Yeah, I didn't know that was
that not.
And do you remember? So I think somebody called you that night too, Dave.
I'm sure I didn't answer, did I? Did I answer?
No, you didn't. I was like, he is in mourning right now. I'm like, nope, he's not talking to me right now.
It was the first time that I ever felt like the fans got completely duped and blindsided. Like it just felt like so out of left field. It was horrible.
Yeah,
it still is.
Listen, that was not obviously, like we just said, that was not on our radar either. Completely
at all, even a little bit, probably not, right?
No, because we wound up with Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we really thought we were going to draft a receiver, and we're like, oh man, there's nobody left. And then Howie struck.
He struck gold. He struck fucking gold.
And listen, that move, along with it seems like he's getting really good at completely fleecing other teams. You know, when you talk about the guys that he's brought in for the next to nothing contracts, or getting GJ from the Saints for essentially for late round draft picks. I've got a greater appreciation for Howie Roseman, considering the moves that he's been able to make this last offseason to essentially rebuild this team from what was a horrendous defense last year.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to look at the transactions and the history that Howie's the moves. I mean, the Saints are pretty much packing it in for what it's worth, getting shut out last week. Then they don't have a slouch of a game with Tampa Bay this week. So the Saints potentially, that pick could potentially be a top 5. We just need some other things to get rolling, like maybe Detroit win, some of these, maybe the Panthers sneak a few wins, and the Saints lose out. It doesn't look too bad. But my question for you, Mustachio Dave, your quarterback of the future, my friend, your quarterback of the future, what do you think of, was it Malik Jackson? Malik Jackson?
No, Malik Willis.
What do you think of that man? Because from what I've seen of that gentleman, he can't fucking throw the ball.
Look, so
their teams.
Just to comment on what you just said, you ain't getting a top 5 pick from the Saints. It ain't fucking happening. There's too many worse teams than the Saints.
Just wait, baby. Just wait.
All right. I have draft day surprises are no secret to me. Malik Willis. Here's the thing with Malik Willis. You know how there's some topics that when you guys talk to fellow Eagles fans, there's certain topics that if they feel one way, you're like, okay, they don't know anything about football or what we're doing. Like, you can just feel it immediately.
Yeah.
Anybody that wanted Malik Willis to start over Ryan Tannehill this year, I was just like, let's not discuss football because we're on a different fucking plane.
Yeah.
Malik was brought in to be a project. I had no doubt he would be a project. I was thrilled that we could do that because I'm a Ryan Tannehill guy and I think he's a good quarterback. I think Malik Willis I think he has all the tools in the toolbox. I think he has looked like dog shit when he's been in this year. I also think that our offensive coordinator isn't doing him any favors. But I have zero concern. I think he's going to be fine in the future. And, I mean, I don't even see him playing next year. I think Tannehill starts all next season too. And if Willis doesn't have it figured out at all by year 3, it's not worth keeping him around.
I was going to say, do you think he starts next year or the year after?
Because I really don't. I could be dead wrong, but I really, really don't.
Well, let's be real. The Titans' offense runs solely through King Henry. And
without a doubt.
You feed that guy the ball 30 times, good things happen. And when they have to go away from him, bad things happen.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how one-dimensional that offense is. You bring in Robert Woods, I think, for like a 6th-round pick, which is great because Robert Woods he's what he is as a wide receiver. He's a great number 2, number 3 guy. You have Treylon Burks, who's going to be a stud once they figure it out. But like you said, I don't think your offensive coordinator really does you guys any due diligence.
Crazy.
I watched too many of those games, and then I watched Vrabel just kind of lose his mind when.
Yeah, and at a certain point, you guys, it's so nice talking to you guys because I know you guys get all the shorthand, like you just get it. At a certain point, you have to get mad at the front office and even Vrabel, where you're like, why are we keeping this fucking guy around? Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, you guys, the buck has to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Gannon. So I completely understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still – after last week's game, we'll get into that a little later because we want to talk Tennessee with you. But even after last week's game with the zero pressure, that was the blitzes that were sent that were not sent, it just kind of really makes me wonder is it the talent or is it Gannon? And I'm still saying it's the talent.
It's Gannon. It's definitely Gannon. Yeah.
Shut up, Joe. Nobody asked you. Sit there and be quiet.
Come on, man.
No, you leave Mustachio. You leave and leave us with Mustachio.
We're supporting the same team here, pal.
Well, listen,
but are you supporting Gannon's decisions?
Fuck no.
Yeah, that dude's a fucking bum. It makes me stop.
You know what? You know what I think we should do? I think we should line up in a nickel defense.
The whole game.
Right. And then they're gonna run the ball.
If we line up in a nickel package when you have Derrick Henry, you have Ryan Tannehill under center, not in shotgun, and Derrick Henry standing 3 yards behind him, we are going to get fucking toasted. That is a recipe for disaster. Let's have Josh Jobe as our nickel corner try to tackle Derrick Henry when he comes off the edge. I would love to see that.
Yes.
Do y'all play a lot of nickel?
That's all we play.
Yeah, Jonathan Gannon is like he's got a big hard on for fucking nickel coverage.
Yeah. He is a defensive back coach. He's a defensive back minded coach. Right. It's so funny when you have talented corners and a great pass rush that you don't use. That's my favorite thing. Most expensive defensive line in football, and you don't use it.
Yeah, I can feel it. Like the other side of the ball, but I can feel the rage.
Yeah.
It hurts.
It's nauseating because it's like you could envision a line where they could line up 5 guys, just put a hat on a hat, and they have the giant bodies now, bringing in the guys that they brought in with Sue and Linval Joseph, and now pair them with Javon Hargrave and Jordan Davis, and like go down the line, and they still won't do it.
Yeah. If I'm the Eagles this week and I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm running the 5-2. I'm running the 5-2. You get Jordan Davis back.
Yes.
You get Jordan Davis back. So you get these 5 guys. They're called defensive linemen, Joe. They're these really big dudes. They're supposed to get the quarterback. And they're they tackle running backs. They're crazy. Like if
I'm going to Google it real quick.
Yeah, Google it. Because if you see them, let me know and we'll put them on the field. And then
I'll tell you this. The Tennessee Titans are good for whatever y'all need to fix. We're the best medicine in the world. The guy who's been playing left tackle for us all season makes me think maybe I can be in the NFL someday. So
nice.
Y'all really have nothing to worry about in the front four.
So other than Derrick Henry, what do the Titans do well?
Our defense, I'm quite comfortable with our defense, mostly across the board. I don't know. We're very bend but don't break, like always. And last week was the first game all season that I've really seen. We had a lot of trouble getting pressure on the quarterback last week, but that's usually the strength of the team, and that's why the defense has been good because I think we blitz like the least of any team in football. We can just rush 4 and get pressure pretty consistently up until last week.
Oh wow! Tell that to Gannon.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a big part of it. We have a Jeffrey Simmons. That kind of fixes a lot of problems.
So
yeah, we have a Jeffrey Simmons.
So if you're envisioning, how does the game play out for the Titans to win?
Okay, there's some game. I'm kind of in my head already trying to consider it a loss because it'll just soften the blow a little bit. After the Green Bay game, we looked like world beaters, and then we looked like a different fucking team last Sunday. Tennessee has a chance if it's a close game and we're not going to blow you guys out. If there's going to be a blowout, it's going to be from Philly to us. Ideal game for the Titans is low scoring, clock control. And I mean, shit, man, if we get the run going, our play action game, I'll put it against anybody in football. Tannehill is a fucking monster with play action passing. But if we can't get the running game going, it doesn't really work. So
it's easy to do that with when you're worried about Derrick Henry running for 15 yards a choke.
Right? Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean the blueprints out there on how to stop Derrick. So, and that's kind of why I'm glad the Washington beat y'all was now the blueprint exists.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with the Titans, and I watched and I listened to the radio on how they broke that game down and where he only had 38 yards. They were just running straight north south, not east west. They didn't adjust the whole game. The offensive coordinator for the Titans just kept running Henry straight, and they were stacking the box, gang tackling. You know, if they start moving Henry, to the edges against the Eagles, that could be tough for us because we're not used to having our secondary come up and tackle a guy who's 6'2", 250 plus.
Like 6'6".
Yeah, well, and he's been more involved in the passing game this year than any year that I can remember.
Yeah.
So getting him out in space, screens, swings, we've thrown him a ball a lot this year.
Yeah. My main concern is with the Eagles is just how they've been getting gashed in the run defense. And I loved when Sirianni was saying, even, before the season, the end of last season, and Gannon was even saying, which he's a fucking liar, oh, well, we're going to switch this defense up and we don't really have a set formation. We're going to, adjust every week. So we're adjusting every week to the nickel. So that's always fun. My least favorite defense there is. Hey, what's your adjustment? We're getting gashed on the run. Send out another DB, baby.
Another DB out there.
What? Gannon, you know there's these
Give me
big
another
guys up front.
DB.
DB. I need a guy who's 150.
We got to line up in dime now. Let's line up in dime.
Send out the quarter defense. What?
Take those clumsy linebackers out of there and get more safeties on the field.
I need speed and small guys. Send the quarter defense.
Like Gannon said, which was a fucking lie.
Oh, it was a fucking lie. He literally stated, we don't have a formation. We don't have a set formation. We are going to play to our strength and to the team's weaknesses. He's yet to play to anybody's weakness, and he keeps getting exposed. And then people like me who say, hey, I don't think Gannon's doing a great job, is being called a person who doesn't watch football. But to me, if I see, Hassan Reddick, a guy you sign who is supposed to blitz the quarterback, not blitzing and dropping back in coverage, which he does absolute worst, I don't really think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
You bring in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph to cover for one guy in Jordan Davis, and those guys have been great. So if I'm going up against Derrick Henry, I stack the box. Why? I make Tannehill beat you. If you can't throw off the play action, you have to have Treylon Burks beat you. Whatchamacallit? The fast little white boy, Robert Woods, and Nakina Westbrook. Those guys.
Westbrook Akina, yeah.
And I'm not, Westbrook Akina. I'm not afraid of those guys. And then old ass Austin Hooper. If it was like Delaney Walker of old, maybe I'd be afraid. But Delaney Walker.
Well, I'll tell you what. Don't worry about Austin Hooper because I'm not even going to go on a whole tangent here because I won't fucking stop. But you don't have to worry about Austin Hooper. Jeff Swaim is on our team. He's the third tight end. And our offensive coordinator, I don't know if Jeff Swaim, paid for an abortion for this. I don't know what he owes him. But they're so hell-bent on getting him involved.
Wow. Dave, off the top rope.
Did he see him kill a girl? I don't know what he fucking has on him. But they're so hell-bent on getting Jeff Swaim involved every week to the point that it's weird. And I'm at the game last Sunday, and they try to throw – there's a picture that I've seen all week that's been haunting me. It's Treylon Burks blocking while we're throwing a quick slant to Jeff Swaim inside the fucking 20. And it's shouldn't this be the other way around? But we're sitting at the game last week. I says they throw a quick slant to Jeff Swaim in the red zone. And I say out loud, I go – yeah, it's exactly right.
Next level.
And I say out loud, I was like, yeah, for sure. Let's get 87 cooking. Get him heated up for sure. Everybody always started laughing. I was like,
Jeff Swaim, baby.
Do you guys have anybody like that they just try to get involved?
That would be like the Eagles trying to force feed Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah.
Dallas
Goedert got hurt.
Dave,
we forgot about tight ends.
We're actually having open tryouts before the game Sunday if you want to try out for tight end because we're going to need one for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you call our offensive coordinator, he'll recommend future Hall of Famer Jeff Swaim to the fucking team.
That's the Eagles. The Eagles go-to is okay, Dallas Goedert. So everybody's oh man, Jack Stoll's going to step up. Cal Mara is going to step up. Tyree Jackson. The Eagles absolutely just were you know what? We're just going to forget about tight end and just focus on getting the ball to A.J. Brown and one of our 9 running backs because these guys aren't worth a damn. And this is coming from my father, who I play in a fantasy football league with. He drops Jack Stoll because he has Dallas Goedert, picks out Cameron and goes, I think he's going to be good. I'm like, Dad, I don't think they're going to throw to him. And they don't even look at him. And he's just this is really disappointing. I'm like, did you think one of these terrible tight ends was going to actually come in and have a role? I'm like, you're an idiot. That's what I got to say about that. Because we forgot about that position. But what do you think, Dave, coming forward is going to be the hardest task for Tennessee to defend against this Eagles offense?
What has y'all's offensive line been like all season?
Amazing.
Really?
Best in football.
Yeah, best in football.
Dave, 365 yards rushing last week.
Yeah. 147 from our quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you take away they still had a 200-plus yard game, even if you take all the Hurts yards away.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've been so good this year that they've recorded a Christmas album on the side.
Yeah,
I saw that. And I'm sure you guys all fucking have it, don't you?
Not yet, but it's
that's how on point they're clicking. They got a Christmas album coming.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be in my stocking.
You know what? My favorite thing about that is they all have voices of an angel. And my favorite thing about the game against Green Bay was Collinsworth was like, after the first 2 minutes of the game, the Eagles are on pace for rushing for 800 yards this game. and we almost got half of it. We almost got half of it. That's fucking crazy.
You can only stomach Collinsworth when it's your team that's on TV.
Dude, you want what?
Did you see that? Did you see the sign? The guy.
I did.
I'm only here so I don't have to listen to Chris Collinsworth.
I love it. Collinsworth stinks.
So bad.
Dude, he's so anti-Philly. It's disgusting.
He was trying to blow Aaron Rodgers so hard, and then Aaron Rodgers got taken out of the game, and then he was making it to sound like Jordan Love was the second coming. He's like, "Oh, and that pass was just a beautiful pass." Mind you, Christian Watson caught a pass about for 5 yards, and then ran past everybody.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that pass was just that's a future Hall of Famer throw." Aaron Rodgers probably taught him. I'm like, Collinsworth, what the fuck? He took like a fucking hitch, 65 yards. Like he's quick as shit. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Do any of you three have any real concern about losing this weekend, or how are y'all feeling about the game?
The only way is if the Titans are able to replicate what Washington did.
Yeah.
If they are able to just pound Derrick Henry into the line, and the key is they have to stay consistent. If they can just stay consistent and stay patient and just feed him all day long and play short, the Eagles are going to give it up, which is exactly what Washington did. They took advantage of the turnovers. They held on to the ball. Like if we went back and looked at that drive chart, 10, 12, 14, 10, and it was not like short drives. It was 6, 12, 8 minutes. Like they just ate up clock.
Yeah.
To the point where I think
they owned
the Eagles
us
in that game in the first half ran less than 20 plays.
Yeah.
Like they just ate the clock. So like there is a recipe there and there is a guy there to do it. Like earlier on in the season, we were so focused on when we were looking ahead at the schedule, so focused on looking at the quarterback position and saying, oh, well, you're going to play Matt Ryan. You're going to play Aaron Rodgers, who's kind of iffy. You're going to play Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis. And then all of a sudden that Redskins game came and you're like, oh, shit, we're going to play Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, like Saquon Barkley. Like now we're looking at a different position.
No, it's position.
Sure.
Yep.
So it's like if you can get that, it kind of there is a recipe for them to be able to do it.
My main concern is I look back at the Green Bay game last week. Eagles ran over 75 plays, kept that Green Bay defense pretty much at bay. Eagles could do whatever they want. Here's the flip side. Green Bay runs 45 plays, almost scores 40 points. That scares me. I don't like the fact that the defense was abysmal because they're not getting pressure. And again, you have the recipe to beat us with one fucking giant of a man, a.k.a. the Yeti, a.k.a. King Henry. If King Henry if they literally decide to go, this is a King Henry game, it's cold, we're going to give this guy the ball 30 times. Here's how I know it's going to be a bad day. If off the jump, King Henry rips off a 20-yard run, then I'm petrified. Because that means they're not ready to tackle. And if you're not ready to tackle from the jump, you're not going to get them down with arm tackles.
It's going to be a long day.
It's going to be a long day. And can they adjust? Because they were able to adjust against Jonathan Taylor. They were, which was nice. But they weren't able to adjust against Washington. And then once they were milking the clock, it really put the Eagles on their heels. And it's tough because you guys have the recipe, but I don't know how good your chefs are, meaning your offensive coordinator, because he's not that clever. And honestly, your defense is good. They're good against the slot. They're not so good against outside receivers. So I think A.J. Brown is going to have a good game. Can you guys contain Jalen Hurts? You have solid linebackers. I just don't think so. But like I said, Simmons is a beast. That dude scares me.
Yeah.
But I'm
defensively.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Christian Fulton being healthy is a humongous deal. He's been fucking fantastic this year in the secondary. Amani Hooker should be back at safety, which helps quite a bit. What you were saying, though, like guys like James Taylor, all these other cats, Brian Robinson, you can see, and I've seen it a million times watching games, like people just get tired of tackling 22. It gets exhausting. And last week, Cincinnati beat us at our own game, which is we are the most physical team on the field 8 times out of 10. And that's where we win. Like, we want to turn every game into a fucking dogfight because we're pretty confident in those games.
Yeah.
Cincinnati kind of bullied us last week. And it was you could see it on the field, and the players said it afterwards. But we got more out physical today.
Yeah.
So if we can out physical y'all, I'm way in. And the record, when Derrick Henry has like 24 or more carries, I'm not even kidding. We're like 26-1 or something. It's like ridiculous percentage.
It's ridiculously up there. Well, that means that man's getting his volume, and that means he is getting chunk plays. Because when
that also means the games are close.
Yeah, and then you're controlling the clock. And like you said, guys get tired of tackling behemoths. It's just it is what it is. It's going to be cold.
Yeah,
I guarantee it's going to be cold in Tennessee. Right? We're playing in Tennessee.
No, it's here.
No, playing in Philly.
Well, it's going to be fucking cold here because Monday is supposed to snow. I don't even know what the schedule is. So, pardon my I work fucking
Rich, you forgot where the game was?
Bro, I forget where my fucking
Whoa.
Come on, Rich.
I'm a terrible fan. I have no idea where they're playing.
Making us look bad.
Dude, it doesn't fucking
Also, you were pretty confidently reporting the weather for what you thought was Nashville, too.
Yeah. It's probably going to be cold.
Probably going to be the same down there, right, Dave?
No, it's pretty cold.
It's going to be one of those games where I really hope Derrick Henry doesn't fucking destroy us. That's all.
They need to bring their big boy pants for this game. All of them.
Is Stu active and playing with you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's the first game, the game that he played against the Colts. He and Linval Joseph had a really big impact. I would say not nearly as much in this game, but you can see how they're integrating them into their roles here. And as those guys come back and are healthy, you can see how they're going to just rotate those guys just in and just
sure.
It's just going to be a revolving door of like, okay, you're coming out, Sue's going in. You're coming out,
fresh bodies.
Right, just fresh bodies. And I think the thing we talked about a couple weeks ago was like what that impact does in that room, right? Bringing Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh and putting them in that room with guys like Jordan Davis and Javon Hargrave and Brandon Graham and that leadership and what that does for a guy who's brand new, fresh in the league, and to be able to sit with those guys and break down tape with those guys.
Thank you, Chris.
I agree.
That impact is going to be felt well after those guys leave for this year.
Yeah, it's a big deal. That's not for nothing. That makes a big difference.
So what's your score? What's your score, Dave?
All right, I'm going to give you a hard score and a head score. Hard score, give me Tennessee. Boy, I don't see you guys scoring less than. Hard score, give me 23-20 Tennessee.
Okay.
Head score, be completely honest and unbiased as much as I can be. I don't know. I don't see you scoring a ton on us. Give me 28-14 Philly head score.
Okay. I like that.
Right.
So yeah.
You got
yeah.
Is there a key player or a key play?
I mean, you guys know as well as I do, all these games, it's one or two plays that change fucking everything.
It really is.
The older I get, the more I realize, even if you lose by 40, one play set that in motion.
It does.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the key is, I don't hate to sound too original, but the key is 22. It just is. When we get him going, great things happen. When we don't, bad things happen. Yeah. Defensively, I think when a quarterback can scramble, it's demoralizing to a defense. I think it rips your fucking heart out. So eliminating that, keeping Jalen in the pocket and closing around him and minding your fucking edges and staying contained and not breaking contained, Those are everything because I've seen too many 3rd and 13 and Mahomes runs for 15 and breaks the fucking will of your defense.
Yeah.
So containing Jalen Hurts is number one, I think.
Fair.
Yeah. Joe, you got a score?
Yeah. 27-20 Birds.
I like it.
AJ Brown, obviously, revenge game.
Yeah.
He's gonna want sorry, Dave. I
told my dad the other day, I go, Dad, I know you're not gambling, man. I said bet everything. Then AJ Brown, whatever the line is for his receiving yards, take the over and bet everything you got on it. What do you guys think? What do you guys got for score predictions?
I got 21-20 Birds. Late field goal.
That's scary, Rich. Jesus.
Dude,
I think we win that game. I'll take that.
It's tough, man. I just, you get the inkling. I saw what I saw out of that team last week, and my faith slowly starts dwindling in Gannon week by week because the adjustments aren't being made. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is that good of a quarterback. I can honestly say that. I think he's a serviceable guy in a league full of elite talent, which is completely fine. But if they don't stop 22, if Derrick Henry decides to have that nice 26 rushes for 188 yards and 2, which I feel like he's capable of doing, the Eagles are going to be in trouble. But I think that the Eagles' firepower on offense can get them down the field goal range, and Jake Elliott hits a 53-yarder for the win. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. And Rich, I'm just going to look at the stats. Kind of tell me maybe a little bit of a different story.
Okay.
The Eagles rush defense, right? We talked about that stat with Jonathan Taylor in that Colts game, had 40 yards on that first drive and then only had 20 for the rest of the game. Right. And then in the Packers game, they hold AJ Dillon to 64 yards and Aaron Jones to 43 yards.
Okay.
I feel like there is a recipe to be able to put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hands and force him to use the guys that are not Derrick Henry to win this game.
But you're also not accounting for, here's the thing, not only the rush yards from AJ or Aaron Jones, you're not accounting for the receiving yards from Aaron Jones.
True.
And that's one of my things. I understand I'm saying rush defense, but I'm still looking at you got these running backs coming out of the backfield, and we're not really doing anything to stop them. And now you add Derrick Henry, aka I'm going to catch some passes this year.
In the open field.
That's another big guy to tackle in the open field. Yeah. So it's that whole containment, shutting down that run. So maybe these swing passes, we can get somebody a little closer to line because Aaron Jones was doing whatever he wanted. AJ Dillon hasn't rushed for over, I think, 25 yards in a game, and he puts up 65 against us. That's worrisome. So it's not the fact that statistically on paper it looked good. My eye test still showed me, holy fucking shit, we're not doing what we need to do to win these games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna look at AJ Brown as the guy that's gonna be the key to this game. Right. I look at the game that he was able to have against Pittsburgh, right, where he just puts up just an insane monster game. I think you're going to see another game like that. I think you see a multi-touchdown, 100+ yard game. Not that he feels like he needs to stick it to Tennessee, but I think anytime there's a guy that's going to play a former team, especially a former team that identified him as a guy that they could potentially move on from and replace him with a younger guy, I think that as a professional, that guy always wants to take that opportunity to stick it to their former team. So I'm
without a doubt.
I think 20, 21-17, 21, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think it's within a score. I definitely don't think it's a blowout, but I think there's a late score from Tennessee that maybe makes the game a little bit closer.
Who follows him over across the field, Dave? Who's going to be responsible for it?
I think most of the time you'll probably see Christian Fulton on him, but we really don't do the corner follow the main guy.
So he could – okay.
Our other starting cornerbacks is mainly going to be two rookies who are both playing very well, but they are still rookies.
Vrabel does have that defense playing well. I give him that. He always plays well. His
Vrabel's a
offense
bad
is always fucking vanilla and terrible.
We've been in more dire situations than this game, and Vrabel's found a way to win. So
Yeah.
I'm being a little dramatic. I just am so bitter from last Sunday's game. And the thing with AJ too, like you were just saying, and I agree completely. I think the Eagles will also, not that they wouldn't normally, they'll try to get him in positions for big plays. Usually, like these revenge games, it always feels like that guy's a lock to score at some point. Like they're gonna dial up his favorite shit. Yeah, I think AJ, like you said, AJ being the key. I agree with that from the hard end of the stick. I think AJ's gonna fucking ball out.
Yeah,
he's a bad man.
Well, Dave, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, cousin
Appreciate
David.
it.
I gotta get the fuck out.
Thank you for having me. I love you all.
Mustachio, be
Dave.
good.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being a good sport.
Go Titans.
Fuck off.
What a guy. What a good guy.
Oh, well, listen. Let's transition. We'll go right to our fantasy advice from the guys at Losing Sucks, and then we'll come back with just a little recap of the Eagles Packers.
Drunk on Broad. What up, boys? It is Travis from the Losing Sucks Fantasy Football podcast and website. I am here. It is week 13. I've got 8 little bits of advice for you. I'm not going to recap the last few weeks. Things are going too fast right now to be looking backwards. So, looking forwards for this week, I have noticed that a lot of managers are in a little bit of trouble at wide receiver. You've got some teams on bye, specifically Hopkins, Marquise Brown. You've got injuries. You have to find somebody that can give you that 10 to 12 point week to help fill in a gap. These 3 guys, I think, can do that. Darius Slayton from the Giants plays Washington. 16 targets for 149 yards over the last 2 weeks. Yes, he needs a touchdown to have the home run day, but with how desperate it is, he can do that. He's due for one of those 50-yard touchdowns that he's done his whole career. I like Slayton in a pinch. Mac Hollins, very involved right now for the Raiders. They have a shootout versus the Chargers. This division game tends to be in the 20s and 30s every time these two play. Darren Waller, Renfro still out. So Mac Hollins, it really is the 2 there in the passing game, and I want pieces of this game. In the same game, Joshua Palmer for me is a start of the week. I do not think Mike Williams plays. He has not practiced yet. He missed again today. Being that it's Thursday, that's a terrible sign. Josh Palmer is number 6 in targets for wide receivers over the last 4 weeks, which shocked me when I read that today. Get him in there as a top 25 play if you have him. He may be out there. People cut him thinking Mike Williams is back. I like Josh Palmer a lot. If anything happens to Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, rest of the way, could be a very influential piece for you. Running back, stash for a playoff run, these 4 guys. Kyron Williams, he's the lead dog for the Rams right now. I know that doesn't sound exciting because the Rams suck, but any starting running back with how thin it is going to help you as a flex. He's going to get 15 touches the rest of the way, and there's not many guys like that out on the waiver wire. This guy will probably be out there. Go get Kyron Williams. Wait a little bit. When the playoffs start, he could be in a situation much like these other guys. Jaylen Warren. Najee Harris is banged up. They want to give Warren some work. We saw that early on in the season. They wanted him to complement Najee. If Najee is out this week or maybe a couple more weeks, whatever the case is, Warren, when healthy, I think will get 15 touches, much like Kyron Williams. But I think Warren is in a situation with the Steelers, especially against Atlanta this week. If Najee's out, I like Warren as a plug-and-play. Jordan Mason from the 49ers, with Elijah Mitchell done for the year, fantasy-wise. Christian McCaffrey banged up. He should be playing, but they're going to monitor him pretty closely. If something were to happen, he would be the number 1 there in a very consistently successful running team, running offense. I would stash Jordan Mason if you have room at the end of your bench. Finally, Zonovan Knight. We just saw a really nice game from him for the Jets. They loved what they saw. Head coach Saleh was all over it. He said he's a one-cut guy. He fits our system perfectly. I don't care that he's a rookie. So another guy, if you have room, if you're carrying a second defense, I would cut them and pick up guys like this. These guys can really help you when you're in a pinch, especially in the playoffs with a great matchup. Michael Carter is banged up. I think Zonovan Knight gets at least 12 touches a week going forward as long as he keeps producing. Get those guys now before it's too late. If you wait till next week, now you're in a bidding war with guys. You're not going to get them all. Whoever's out there, scoop them up. Cut your hurt guys that may not come back. Cut your second defenses. If you have a second kicker because one of them's a big name, there's just no reason to do that. These type of guys can be very influential for you. Finally, a sneaky defense for the playoffs for me. This is the same theme as the running backs. Pick them up a week early before people realize this. Kansas City, I think, is going to be a really nice plug-and-play defense. If you've been streaming defenses all year, they have Houston in Week 15 who cannot score, and Denver in Week 17, the championship, they cannot score. Denver may have completely packed it in by then. These two teams, Denver and Houston, will be trailing Kansas City big time. They'll be trying to make plays and force footballs into spots that they should not. And I think the Kansas City defense will tee off on them. A sneaky grab if you are streaming defenses all year. Now you're at the time with who am I going to lean on? 15 and 17. That's 2 out of the 3 playoff weeks. I really like Kansas City. Good luck. Week 13. As we always say, losing sucks. Don't do it. Send me any DMs at Losing Sucks on Twitter. Start sit questions. If you don't have a trade deadline or you're in a dynasty, we really answer all type of questions. We'd love to talk football with you guys. And as always, go Birds.
My man.
Oh,
Good tidbits there. Good tidbits. I was just on my phone looking at the waiver wire, seeing who was out there. And there's nobody in most of my leagues that he said. So that really upsets me. But it's okay.
Listen, that's all good stuff, right? That's stuff that, like, at this time of year, right, Rich, you've been one that has always kind of pounded the table about, like, you win the leagues on the waiver wire. Like,
yeah.
You win the leagues on the guys you pick up throughout the year, because those guys that you draft, very rarely do you hold on to that squad for the. And prime example, right? Look at the one league that we were in, where, remember, Jay, that auction league where Jay blew all that entire draft capital on 4 guys, right? But used those guys as leverage, traded them all, got a bunch of different pieces, and is what, 10-1 in that league?
Yeah, and he sits in first place. You always win fantasy when it comes down to the waiver wire and trying to make good moves for your team. It's just about who you're picking up, and like you said, in the matchup, and depending on what your bench looks like. If your bench is full of guys that you know you're not going to play, and you were hopeful, and they haven't, broke through or weren't the breakout sleeper stars, drop them. Get those known commodities. Get the guys who are getting involved. They might not be big juicy names like Mac Hollins and like you said, Kyrian Williams. Even though the Rams suck, that made me laugh. They're the guys that you want, because eventually these guys are going to have decent games. They're going to get the volume. So you got to chase volume, not name. So if you got some name guys who aren't doing anything, you drop them, you pick up the guys who are getting the opportunity. I mean, that's just pretty much how it goes. Or you do what I do and just stay pat because all your teams suck. Just call it a day. Can't wait for next year, boys. Can't wait for next year.
Oh, my goodness.
It is what it is. But let's recap the Green Bay game because we got a few things we have to talk about.
Yeah, so –
Jesus Christ, John. That running game that we had going for us in Green Bay was phenomenal.
It was bad. It was bad.
No, I mean, our running game was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, ours,
God.
Ours was phenomenal.
I was going to say, let's start with the positives.
Yeah, the positives. Jesus
good
Christ.
God. When they want to dominate the run game, good Lord, they just made a decision, and I think maybe the conversation centers around the loss of Dallas Goedert and saying, okay, we're not going to force feed the guys who are replacing Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
We're just going to double down on the guys that we got.
We're going to forget that Dallas Goedert even was on our team and that tight end position was even there because we don't need to.
I don't understand. I mean, you have 3 tight ends.
Yes.
And none of them are very good. Why? I mean, I know he's out, and I know he's not coming back. I don't know when he's coming back. But why hasn't that been addressed?
Here's how I look at it, Joe. Here's how I look at it, right? I look at it as it's kind of the same way when we had Ertz and then we let go of Ertz because we had Goddard, right? We would have never let go of Ertz if we didn't have Goddard. We didn't have a guy who could block and who could catch passes and a guy who's reliable.
Yeah.
Most of these guys they're bringing in tight end are like, besides the guys who played in college, like Stoll and Camarada, but Tyree Jackson is converted because of size. Tight end is one of those positions where you see a main guy get hurt and you always see their backup not perform because their job is to be the blocking guy. Okay, you're in on passing downs because you can pass block. You're in for the run downs because your specialty is run blocking. You don't find these complete tools, and that's why there are such anomalies. Like, you have the guys like Kyle Pitts coming out. When he's healthy, he's hurt, obviously. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews.
Darren Waller.
That's really it. Darren Waller, when he's healthy. There's not that many good tight ends who have that all-around skill position because you're not only lining up – like, you're not lining these guys up wide all the time. These guys have to be able to shake free of the guys that they're blocking and then turn on a dime and catch the ball, or run a route and completely shake the block, or throw a block and run. That's a very tough, skilled position. I think it's one of the most underrated positions in football because of how hard it is to play. And some of these young guys, they don't have those tools. They're not the 3-tool, okay, I can block in running, passing downs, and I can catch or be able to run routes.
Right.
What is the timeline with Goddard?
He should be back in like 2-3 weeks. So he should be back by the end of the season.
Right, but I think when you look ahead at the schedule, right, you're if you can do what you did in this game, right, which is not force feed the guys that are replacing him, but look at the guys that you have, right? You're going to now focus on Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, right? Quez Watkins' role is obviously going to elevate. You saw that in how that he's getting 3 receptions, 35 yards, and a touchdown. You're going to see, right, the emphasis on getting the ball to Miles Sanders. And you saw them go back to what worked at the end of the year last year, right? They saw that pass game was not going to win them games. So they pivoted, and they got the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands to be able to run the ball. Now you're seeing how dramatically affected that is when now he's a better passer. Right now, all of those lanes open up, and the play design is, all the right, the RPO, the RPR, whatever it is. You're looking at opportunities where Jalen Hurts is in position to be able to continue to make plays.
Can I just say something, Don? Can I say something? Here's why I think they switched the game plan. I don't think they switched the game plan out of necessity for their offense. I think they switched the game plan out of necessity for their defense. I think that they realized 100%. they need to control the clock because their defense isn't really able to stop anybody when it comes to the run game. So they are doing what teams are doing against them. Control the clock, get first downs, beat that defense up, take advantage of what they're giving you. I don't think it's a necessity. I think the Eagles' passing game could go out there and have shootouts and outdo most teams with the weapons that they have. I just have a gut feeling is they don't trust their defense. And it's not saying that their defense is bad. It's just the fact is I don't think they have the same faith in Gannon as they did earlier in the season, especially when you see the shift change in Washington. Washington is a bad fucking football team. A bad fucking football team. They should have won that game. Yes, the Eagles shot themselves in the foot. You saw A.J. Brown fumble again.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was an interception in Washington, but then the fumble. But still, he's another wide receiver who fumbled for us. I don't think the Eagles want to go away from their passing game, but at this point, they have to because they need to keep their defense fresh to be able to stop these running backs. But it still scared me, as I said, 45 plays run, almost 40 points scored. That can't happen. You can't run 33 plays less than the Eagles and almost beat them and put up points.
Yeah. Rodgers doesn't get hurt in that game or, he doesn't have one, I think he had 2 interceptions. They were right there. I mean, they lost by a touchdown. And for some reason, Green Bay stopped running the ball. Yeah. I think they had 20 rushes between Dillon and I could be wrong, but I think they only ran the ball they only ran the ball like 20 times, and then
20 times. Yeah,
they went away from money. I mean, it was working.
Yeah.
It was working. You know,
Yeah,
and that's
I mean,
we figured out that's our kryptonite.
Yeah.
And they stopped doing it. So, you know, thanks, shout out to Green Bay for helping us out.
Yeah, thanks, Matt LaFleur. Yeah, really appreciate it.
But man, if you said 21-20, man, I'm gonna be losing my marbles on something.
Dude, it's scary, but it's what I see, and it's not that, like I said, it's not that I don't have faith in this offense. It's if Derrick Henry gets up early and they can't tackle him, and he's having a Derrick Henry day, our defense is going to be in trouble, and our offense is going to have to pick up the slack, which the offense has been doing.
Right.
The offense has been great. The defense has been.
I don't have any faith. I mean, he could start out well, and he could go off a cliff, or it could go the other way, where we're hanging over the cliff and we're hanging by a thread the whole game. But I haven't had a good feeling the entire season, other than I guess the Minnesota game and the one Washington game. But other than that, he's been the model of inconsistency.
Yeah.
You know, and we've talked about this every game. We're 10-1, and we're still talking about how much of a roller coaster the defensive coordinator is.
Yeah. And I want to see it get fixed. But the guy literally stated before the season, we don't have a set defensive package, but he's set in the nickel. Like, I just don't understand. The recipe for Derrick Henry is stacking the box. You run the 5-2. You put Davis in the middle. You put Sue and Linval,
big bodies
right there.
Refrigerator Perry.
And then Cox and Hargreaves on the outside. And then you have your two linebackers, whether it be Edwards and White or Edwards and Reddick.
Right.
And you stuff Derrick Henry. That's what you have to do.
Gannon needs to be locked in the film room and watching play-by-play of last week's Titans-Bengals game.
Yeah, truly.
And the offense needs to smash them in the mouth.
Yep. Yeah, like you got to make them put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hands and force him to beat you with whatever is not Derrick Henry.
So, because your secondary is good enough is way good enough on an island with what they have to roll at receiver.
100%.
So it's going to be rocky. I mean, it was just one of those things. Jalen Hurts looked phenomenal last week. He's just been good. And I do a lot of diving, so I follow a lot of different sports outlets on Facebook, or not Facebook, on Instagram. Not really doing too much Twitter still. And people were like, when they said Jalen Hurts is in line to get $50 million a year, and people were like, "Oh man, that's off one good season." If you see the progressions that this guy has made, it's light and day from last year. It's light and day. The touch he has on his passes, the composure he has in the pocket, the fact that he wants to stand there and throw, but plays are breaking down. I don't know if guys aren't getting open or the routes that they're running are it's just too congested.
Yeah.
That he's not forcing the throws, but he's still doing the little things right, and he's still going to crush you with his legs.
Yep. And
do I want to see him make $50 million for him? Yes. For the team, I know that hurts. But if you get this guy for, a five-year and at $40 million a pop, I'm happy with it. Because Lamar Jackson's going to go out there and get a fucking bag.
It's ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
All these quarterbacks are going to get paid.
The good thing about Hurts too is he'll fight for that extra yard, but he won't put himself in harm's way.
No.
He'll slide. Or he'll go out of bounds, so he doesn't take that big hit.
And Mustachio Dave said we're not getting a top 5 pick.
I don't know, Dave.
I think
Dave's a little bit of hating going on.
Yeah, and then you can address that defensive line, or you can address pretty much any position that you really want with that pick.
I want that DN from Alabama.
Oh, Willie Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson is a fucking stud.
That's who I want.
It's going to be an interesting week, boys. It's
Gentlemen, before we roll into final thoughts.
Yes, sir.
Who had a better season?
Okay.
The season that Hurts is having right now,
Okay.
or the season that Wentz had pre-knee injury? When he was, because they were both arcing towards MVP of the league. Minus all the stuff that Carson Wentz has had since that
Jalen
injury. Like from that season, just for that season.
Jalen Hurts 100%. I know Carson was going to have an MVP season. I know he led us to where we were to win a Super Bowl. I'm just looking at what Jalen Hurts has meant to this offense and how he's running it, the progressions he made from the year before. Okay, he doesn't have the passing touchdowns as Wentz did, during that time. But the plays that he's making, the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over, the fact that he is that dude leads that locker room. You can't deny that he's doing something special this year, and he's doing something that is not often seen. I just have to. I don't know if it's my disgust for Carson Wentz and the legacy that he left behind. The false messiahs.
Mm-hmm.
But Hurts to me is having a better season than Carson Wentz's potential 2017 MVP season.
Joe?
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth with that question, and I was probably the biggest was the biggest Carson Wentz fan out there. But when you take the whole picture, his play, his passing, his intangibles, his escapability and leader. He's what, 22, 23 years old?
Mm-hmm.
He's the focal point of this team at that age. And you can't teach that. The guy just has it. The guy has it. He just does. And Carson was a little bit too much of he played too much hero ball. And he got away with it that year. He definitely got away with it that year for the most part. But when you look at the whole body of work and how he carries himself and how everybody on that team respects him, it's got to be Hurts, because there was a lot of teammates and a lot of coaches that Wentz rubbed the wrong way.
Agreed. Don?
It took me a while to come to when I go back and forth, it's kind of hard to put all of the stuff that has happened with Carson Wentz since that moment aside, right? Because when you go back to watching that season and watching those games, man, it was impressive week to week. That 17 season was just wild, and he looked every bit of the guy that was going to be the quarterback for this team for the next decade. And you look at his potential with the arm talent was there at the very beginning. His play on the field, he was able to get guys the ball all over the field. The only thing that swung it for me was watching this particular season is looking at the last couple seasons and knowing that player has dramatically improved every offseason. And now you're looking at a guy who is answering the bell and answering every question about anything that anybody thought was going to be a problem with him. And the arrow is just pointing straight up, right? The trajectory for his career to lead this team with a lot of guys that are young and locked up. The arrow is up, man. And that in the combination with the guys that are around him, knowing that he's going to have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown around him for the next handful of years, man, there's only so much that you can argue back and forth before you kind of lean that like Hurts, like Joe, you said, Hurts has just got it. He's got a factor that this team and these players rally around that Wentz never had.
Agreed.
Right. And
I like it.
Wentz peaked too early.
Peaked in high school.
Well, even with us, like he had that MVP-esque season, and then he got hurt. And he was never the same.
Just never the same. Just never the same. Gentlemen, who wants to go final thoughts?
Man, final thoughts. What a beautiful time. December's here, boys. December's here. Holy cow. Oh, man.
Rich, show everybody that beautiful tree behind you.
Look at that tree.
Good Lord. Y'all did a great job.
Look at that tree. Got my nutcrackers. Got my Polar Express train. Ollie helped me put up. You know, like we're ready. We're ready. Now, Christmas time is, it was funny because I was explaining to Ollie the one day, like I was sitting down here and I was staring at the tree. And, you know, what Christmas represents to me, you know, we can all say, you know, Christmas is, you know, it's the best time of year. And as Jason said, for some people, it's not. And I tried to explain to Ollie that, you know, at him being 4, I try to like explain a lot of different things to him. And, you know, for me, it's all about being inclusive, right? Especially at a young age. So I was telling Ollie, you know, Santa's watching you this month, buddy, especially, you know, school time. So I told him Santa's going to watch you. And what I want you to do is go play with kids you normally don't play with in class. I said, I know you have some kids in your class who have teachers who sit with them every day. I'm like, how about you go play with those kids? Because I know they might not have as many friends as you. As he tells me, I get asked to play with this kid. And he goes to me, he's like, well, my one friend, Killian, he always wants me to play with him during that time. He's like, well, what if I upset him? And I said, Bud, well, why don't you invite him to play with somebody else as well? And he goes, okay, that's a great idea. And he came home and he told me this whole week he played with one different kid in his class that he normally doesn't play with. And it's funny because it's like, this is what I want from him. This is like the things that I enjoy with being a father because, you know, every kid has the right to have friends. No matter if they have a learning disability or a developmental delay or you know, their background or where they came from, what their home life's like, you know, that one friend, that one kid that like seeks you out and wants to play with you. And it helps Ollie understand at a young age, you know, go out there, meet different people, get to understand why kids are the way they are. Or, you know, it helps break the stigma of, oh, they're just weird. They're weird. I don't want to play with them. Because I remember being a kid and being around people who are disabled, and now I'm around them every day. I was terrified. I was terrified of people with mental illness. I was terrified of oh my God, that guy's schizophrenic. Oh, that's terrifying. Because you only see in the movies and hear on the news all the bad things about mental illness. And oh, that person has cerebral palsy. They walk a little different. Oh, that scares me. Or that person's in a wheelchair. Oh God. And it's like, I'm trying to teach my son that, you know, they're people just like me and you. They need friends. We just like you need friends. They want people to talk to just as much as you do. And then I sat him on my lap and I said, Santa's going to do that. But, you know, the reason why I love Christmas, and he's like, presents. And I said, hope, because Christmas is a time of hope. It's a hope for better things to happen in our lives, for better things to happen in other people's lives. I'm the type of guy who I want everybody to do well and, you know, just have a good life. And I know that's not possible for some people, but at Christmas time, seeing the lights and you know, seeing the smiles and hearing the Christmas songs, it strikes that hope in me that, you know, things are going to be all right. We're going to get through, and the tough times pass and the tough people last. Just hold on to that hope, teach that inclusion to your kids because it's important. You want your kids to grow up to be good people. It starts when they're young. I didn't want to have that conversation with Ollie when he's 10. Hey, man, why'd you pick on that kid? Because I would beat the brakes off his ass if I found out he was bullying somebody because they were different than him. And to have that conversation at a later age is hard because kids are set in their ways. Kids are, in a lot of ways, worse than adults, especially at a young age when they don't understand something. Give it to them early and give it to them straight because that's the way we need to be. And Christmas, hold out hope. Things will be okay. Things always work its way out. And when you look at those lights, just think of the positive stuff that's out there, and I hope it gets you through. And that's pretty much what I got for you.
Damn.
Well said, Rich.
Rich, good Lord. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
You always talk about like the God, it just the way that you're able to craft it, man. It's beautifully said, man. It's exactly what you're talking about, right? You want to raise your kids, and you want to have to be able to interact with any kid on any level, regardless of whatever, right? And just raise them to be good kids, raise them to be good humans, right? They're little tiny kids, but this is the time to talk to them. This is the time to share those things with them, man.
You teach them young, they soak it up like a sponge. Everything that they see and they do, they soak up. So they're going to mimic what they know, and they're going to mimic what they learn, and teach it to them young because it sticks.
Yeah, truly. Listen, the one we talked about the Eagles' offensive line a couple weeks, earlier tonight. Yeah, Jet. I don't know if you catch the audio intros to the Eagles' offensive line, but Jordan Mailata has started to say his college is Stoutland University, right? And Jeff Stoutland has kind of run with that. And you can find this tweet somewhere on our timeline. I'll try to put it back up at the top, but Jeff Stoutland is now using that platform that he has as the Eagles coach to be able to now sell the Jeff Stoutland University T-shirts. They got the dog in the middle as the mascot, and all the proceeds of all the shirt sales all go to the Eagles Autism Awareness. So just huge shout out to him and shout out to the things that they're able to do to be able to provide the funds and the research for autism awareness. So,
oh yeah,
Joe,
what's up?
Joe,
sorry, man. It's been like a 20-hour day. No,
that's all right. You got a final thought?
I do, and sometimes I'm not prepared, and I kind of throw things together here at the end. But this is this is about sobriety. Jason is coming up on 7 years.
Hell yeah,
sobriety.
Wow.
This I don't quote me, and I forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he said 7 years will be this Sunday, and it's an emotional thing for me, and I know it's an emotional thing for him, and I know it's an emotional thing for a lot of people because there are so many people that are suffering and dealing with the issues involved with sobriety, dealing with it, getting help. Just trying to get on the right path. I've known Jay since 1992, and Jay, 1992, 23 of those years, Jay was not sober. I would see Jay almost every day. Jay was not sober. It took me, so many years to see the sober side of Jay. And, it can be, it's hard. It's hard on people's families. It's hard on friends. It's hard to be around somebody like that sometimes, but it's even more difficult because you want to help them, but you don't know how. It's a helpless feeling. Like you want to find a good place for them. You want to get them to find help or to actually help them. But it's getting them there. That's part of the journey that took so many years. But, he was at the lowest of lows, and now he's made it. And it's incredible. It's really incredible knowing and seeing how low he had gotten to seeing how he's flourishing now. And it's hard to put it into words, but it's such a good feeling, and it's great to see your friend get to this point.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Jay's a beautiful, beautiful soul.
Wow.
Definitely glad I met that man. Powerful shit, Joe.
It's all, listen,
Sometimes you got to get deep, right?
That's what we do here, man.
Yes,
We bring you up, and then we just lay it to you straight. And that's why I love you guys. Why I love you. You joke around, but when seriousness comes out, it shows who we are as people, and that's why I really like working with you guys.
You know what, Rich?
We have a good time. What?
There's one gentleman that I haven't heard you speak about much.
Fuck off. Davion Taylor. That gentleman. I'm sorry. Is he still on the practice squad, or did he let me go away?
I don't even know if he's in the league.
I really hope he's not in the practice squad. We can't even get N'Kobe Dean on the field.
Is JJ Arcega-Whiteside still in the league?
I don't think he is. I think he's actually out there. It's so bad that he can't get a job, but John Brown and Deshaun Jackson, who have no hamstrings, keep getting jobs.
And I think Britton Covey is still a better special teams player than Jalen Reagor.
Because he catches the ball. It's easy. You catch the ball.
That's right.
I'll take it.
Rich, take us out.
Man, you guys stuck around. You fucked around. You found out. We had a great special guest in Cousin Dave, a.k.a. Mustachio, for Don, for Joe, for myself, and Drunk on Broad. Jay, wherever the hell you are working and shit. We love you. Fuck Spike Eskin. Fuck Ben Simmons. Fuck Deshaun Watson. Fuck Davion Taylor. And go Birds. And go Birds.
Go Birds.
Peace, Philly.
This is the Broad Street Line, where Philly sports fans leave all of their sports hot takes. Call 267-405-3062 and show us your passion for Philly sports. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday at 8:30 when we listen to your live reactions to the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat.